You had Robert Kraft. I can't say this was a press conference. It was just he addressed the media yesterday, and he kind of fell on the sword where he fired Jerod Mayo after 1 year.
This whole situation is on me. I feel terrible for Jerod because I put him in an untenable situation. It was very hard because the personal relationship I feel for Jerod and the human being he is, and I felt guilty I put him in that position.
Okay. Yes, you did. You know, everybody's a genius when you got Belichick and Brady. And then when you only have one, not everybody's a genius, including the genius. And then when you don't have either, then it falls back to who's running this team. And the Krafts have been running this team, not Bill Belichick the last 5 years, and maybe longer. Okay, you have Jerod Mayo, who is a coach in waiting. Now, Belichick didn't know, apparently, that they had already put this in his contract, that he was going to be the coach in waiting. That's the first problem. You have to let Bill know. And Bill may say, hey, then I don't want to be around. And you may have to eat that one. But you can't do that to Belichick where you go, we're going to put this in the language in your contract, you're the coach in waiting. And then tell me that after 5 years of being the coach in waiting, he's not ready to be the coach after waiting 5 years. See, that's embarrassing. Now, I think what this came down to was not necessarily the performance on the field as much as maybe handling yourself as a head coach. And I think Jerod Mayo failed with those responsibilities because I think he wanted to be the antithesis of Bill Belichick. When he went to a press conference, he was actually going to say something. Maybe he was a little more confrontational with his players. Not that far removed from being a player himself. And I don't think he handled himself the way maybe the Krafts wanted him to handle himself as a head coach. I don't know what they expected because you didn't spend any money. You have a quarterback. You kind of have a running back. You were supposed to have a really good defense. The last part of last season, you were one of the better defenses in the NFL. Now you're going to bring in who? Brian Flores? You're going to bring in Mike Vrabel, Ben Johnson. But I don't know if you make that move unless you know. Like, what if they whiff on Vrabel, Ben Johnson, let's say Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator with the Vikings? Now what? Are you going to bring in another inexperienced head coaching candidate? Like, you can't whiff. Like, they have to get their person. They have to get Mike Vrabel, it feels like. Ben Johnson, we don't know. As I've said many, many times, not every coordinator should be a head coach. Ben Johnson has done a wonderful job in Detroit. I don't know. Once again, you can be great at your job, but there are other jobs that go with that. How do you handle press conferences? It's really important. Is Pete Carroll going to get a shot? It feels like there's some momentum that maybe he gets a shot. I don't know why now. He's been available the last couple of years. It's one of those that it's like, you find out that some girl's available and you didn't know she was available. And you're like, well, what happened? I didn't know that. Pam Anderson's available? Well, maybe Pete Carroll is the Pam Anderson of the NFL.
Oh, nice.
He's available. Okay. And the Patriots got cap room. They have, I think, over $100 million. Why weren't they spending that before? If you're not going to spend it now, that'd be my first question. If I'm going to be Mike Vrabel and I walk in and go, why do we have $100 million that we didn't spend? Can we buy a receiver? Can we buy offensive line? Can we buy a running back? Could we have gotten Saquon Barkley? Like, I don't know. You just ask questions where, why are you stockpiling all this money? Are we going to spend this money? Now I'm interested in the job. If not, why would you take that job? Yes, you got Drake May, but you need more than Drake May. You're going to win 4, 5, 6 games? Okay. That's not the Patriot. The Patriot Way is done. Okay, the Patriot Way was Belichick and Brady. Let's be honest here. It's not the Krafts. It's Belichick and Brady. Because once the emperor has no clothes, it's pretty freaking cold. And that's what you have going on there. How did it get here? And it happened right before our very eyes. Yes, Paulie.
That being said, even though it was an awkward day for the Patriots, could it have been the right decision because you have cap space and a quarterback that people like on a rookie deal? It's one of the more attractive jobs financially, not so much talent-wise, but financially. You have an open slate. Like if you're a new GM, which I'll actually have a GM or a coach, it seems like a blank slate.
But I have to know if they're spending money. How involved are the Krafts? That's what I want to know. They got more involved, and I think to the detriment of the team. You didn't spend any money. How do you bring in a rookie coach and a rookie quarterback and don't surround them? This goes back to what happened with Andrew Luck. Every team should be reminded of that. If you're going to bring in a rookie quarterback, get an offensive line. Give him a couple of skilled position players. If not, then don't use the pick on a quarterback if you're not going to protect him. You know, like Bryce Young. Hey, Bryce, go out there and be a savior. That's not the kind of quarterback he is. Hey, Bryce, sorry you got to run for your life. Hey, Bryce, you suck. Come on over. Andy Dalton's going in. You didn't help him. Protect him. And New England didn't do that with Drake May. And as a result, you get rid of Jerod Mayo. And maybe Mayo wasn't the right guy to begin with. Maybe they made a mistake to put him the coach in waiting. But now you got to get Mike Vrabel. Because Vrabel gives you a culture. And I know that's one of those weird words, but Dan Campbell created a culture in Detroit. Like certain coaches create a culture. Rex Ryan, you know, for the good and the bad of all of that, he had a culture with the Jets. He's still trying to bank on that culture, saying, I'm the best guy for the job. We're not going to let it be a country club atmosphere for Aaron Rodgers. Like, okay. Yeah, Paul?
All right. Any chance that Vrabel is the wrong choice because he reminds everyone of Belichick? He'll probably walk in and say, I'm going to do this like it was done 5 years ago. Free agents didn't want to go play there, especially towards the end. I don't know if Mike Vrabel will be attractive to free agents with all that cap room.
Players didn't want to play for Belichick. They wanted to play for Belichick and Brady because that meant you were going to get a chance to play in a Super Bowl. Plain and simple. Like the last 4 years, did you hear players go, you know what, before I retire, I want to play for the greatest coach of all time? No. They said, even defensive players, hey, I'll put up with this, but I want to go and play with Brady. I got a chance. Chris Long, 1 year to play for, play in a Super Bowl, and he won one. They weren't going to play for the greatest coach in history. They wanted to play for the greatest coach with the greatest quarterback, the Patriot Way.